Hi everyone, Danielle here. I'm here with Hagrit to discuss the balance changes as of the 10th of October. Hi Hagrit.
Hello, hello.
Alright, so let's get into it. Um, so you helped design some of these balance changes, is that right?
Yeah, I was involved in the balance patches.
Okay. Can you talk us through it? So the first one we've got here is the fortress type building hack armor has increased from 30% to 40%.
Right, so this change is mostly aimed at the the lack of siege, I suppose, in some games. Like people are able to just make hack damage units only and are quite easily able to push through. This should help force maybe a little bit more siege in those stages of the game.
Is this to help also counter the throwing axeman that is quite strong when it has that particular armory upgrade? What armory upgrade does it have?
That would be burning pitch. And well, I mean it does help, but that's not the main goal of this change, no.
Okay, we'll see how that one goes. Then we'll go down to technologies here. We've got the champion cavalry research time has increased from 20 to 40 seconds, so that's obviously a 200% increase. Is that, would you say 100% or 200% there?
100% increase. Yeah.
100%. That's not great. So why is that?
We just brought this tech in line with the other champion upgrades, which were all 40 seconds, and this one stood out for being 20 seconds, especially in the Norse Great Hall, because that building actually works faster. So it was only 13 seconds to research, which felt almost instantly. That's why we made this change.
Why was the champion cavalry faster than the other champion line upgrades to start with?
I think that's just how it was in the old game, and that's just how
So
we had
rollover,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
rollover from legacy.
it
Got it.
wasn't a conscious decision to put it like that.
Okay, yeah, got it. Guard tower, the tower damage has increased from 40% to 50%.
So there's been quite a few comments regarding towers feeling a bit underwhelming, and there's a bit two sides to this. I think the baseline tower being not super strong is kind of good, and people will enjoy that. But at the same time, we felt like some towers could use a little bit of help. So I think with the guard tower upgrade being a bit stronger, they should be a bit more relevant if you tech into the fences.
Okay, nice. And then last one in the technologies or the global technologies, we've got architects. So that's the line after masons, right? You've got architects, and that increases the building hit points by an extra 5% now.
Yeah, that's correct. It's just a small upgrade because Architects is a lot more expensive than Masons, but it gave less than Masons due to not also giving the hack armor, I think it was on some buildings. Anyway, it was not as good, but more expensive, so we felt like it could use a little buff, again, for those who like to play defensively.
Yeah. And how do you know? Have you played with this with some of the building damaging god powers, like with earthquake or meteor? How is this buff? Does that help against those big god powers?
It probably will help against those, yeah. I haven't looked at specific cutoff points for like Meteor, for example, like maybe it takes an extra hit to kill a certain building, but and in general, there might be a few buildings that survive a bit longer, or yeah.
Okay, so that'll be interesting to play with and see the survivability now. All right, let's have a look at some of the pantheon changes. We've got Greek first. Hades. The Achilles movement speed was reduced, and then if we look at Poseidon, we've also got the Atalanta hero speed reduced. So why have these two heroes had their movement speed reduced?
So there's a bit of an issue with fast classical age moving heroes being first of all extremely oppressive, but also just shutting down faster myth units that otherwise wouldn't be shut down. So just touching on these a little bit should keep a slightly larger gap between just the myth units being unviable early game against Greeks. That's the main reasoning. Yeah.
Okay. And why not the third, like the Zeus hero? Was that speed okay?
The Heracles is only at 4.8 speed,
Okay, so it's a slower
so
unit.
yeah, it didn't need a nerf.
Yeah, got it. And then we've got Hermes, the spirited charge technology. That affects cavalry and centaur, right?
Yes.
But the centaur movement speed has been reduced from plus 10% to plus 5%. Why only centaurs with this tech?
So there was mostly just an issue balance issue regarding Centaurs being just too strong, partially because of their speed and partially because of their damage. So we tried to hit the speed, and the speed only really became an issue after upgrades. So we tried to hit only the upgrade part of the Centaur.
Do you feel like is Spirited Charge still worth getting then?
I mean, it's obviously worth getting for normal cavalry, which is usually what it's combined with.
Mm-hmm.
But now, if you get this upgrade, if you move both with cavalry and Centaur together, the Centaur will slow down the formation slightly.
Okay.
Which impairs the maneuverability of this unit composition, which was very dominant.
Right. Okay, so now it's best to probably split your Centaur out from your cavalry and do raids in groups.
Yeah, or you just take the movement hit and just still run together.
Yeah. And then we have another Centaur nerf here. So the special attack total pierce damage dealt over 5 seconds has been reduced from 28 to 21. So that's 21 damage dealt over 5 seconds. Is that correct in that area?
Yeah, that's right. The first round of nerfs in previous patches were mostly figuring out Greek favor and bug fixes, and now that we've had a patch playing with the Centaurs, it did still seem quite dominant, or really dominant rather. So here's the damage nerf that I guess is what people want.
Yeah. So we'll see if this helps combat some of the complaining, I guess, about the Centaur at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I see Karkanos has been buffed quite a bit. Was there some complaints about Karkanos not being strong enough? Because we've got a hit point increase, a speed increase, the damage on death, like that's like a splash damage sort of death animation, right? That's been increased. And then its hack and crush damage have also been increased. So what's going on there?
So there was an attempt here that we already did do just with the Yorman Elver, is to make the myth unit much more impactful and impressive compared to the Heroic Age naval myth unit. And now we just gave that treatment to all the Mythic Age naval myth units. So the Karkunos especially felt really lacking. So he probably got the most out of this. So yeah, we'll see where it lands.
Yeah, for those who can't quite remember, the Karkanos is the crab myth unit. He's really cool looking. And in the rest of the balance notes, there is some notes about some of the other water myth units. Like I saw some notes on the Jorman Elver and the war turtle, I think. So we'll get to that. So there's a bit of a naval rework here for the myth units. Human units for the Greek. We've got the Toxotes. The rate of fire has increased from 1 to 1.1. Which means it attacks slower. Why is that?
So, Toxotes have been a very dominant unit for Greeks for, well, since the betas even. And it's pretty clear that they're just slightly outperforming other archers. So we felt like a slight nerf here is quite justified.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, yeah, the archer bulls at the moment are quite terrifying to have to deal with, I think, for a lot of people. So hopefully this helps. All right, onto the Egyptian pantheons. Our major gods, Ra. We've got a Skin of the Rhino buff. So the research time for Skin of the Rhino, which is the one that helps keep your villagers alive, it gives what villager hit points? Armor, thank you. And what's the armor stats on that?
It's 30% hack and pierce armor vulnerability.
Up from what?
It's just minus 30% vulnerability.
Right.
So.
Right. Confusing. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, it helps keep your villagers alive for longer. That research time has been reduced from 30 seconds to 15 seconds. This tech is only in the town center?
Yeah.
Only in the town center, so I'm guessing that's why it's had a reduction in time.
That's right. And keep in mind as well, empowering town centers speeds up the train time. So if you want to get this tech and minimize your villager production, then empower the TC while you're getting this to get back to making villagers sooner.
Okay, that's a good tip. Thank you. And then we've got the minor gods. We've got Sobek, the Locust Swarm god power. The divine damage has been increased from 0.3 to 0.4. Is that like what, per second, half a second? What is that? Because the swarm is not intuitive to note what damage it's doing, right?
Yeah, the way it works is it spawns 5 different swarms, and each swarm deals that amount of damage per second in the radius.
Okay.
So, the damage, if they're all stacked on top, hitting the same unit, they could be dealing up to 1.5 and now buffed to 2 divine damage per second if they were all hitting the same target. I'm guessing I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
Have you tried this out yet? Have you tried casting a locust swarm on a bunch of villagers?
Yeah, an unupgraded, just plain Greek villager, for example, if they were just mining a gold mine and not moving, they would die.
Okay. I like to
So,
hear that. I used to be a Ra main, so I like to hear that the locust might be a bit more impactful like it was in Legacy.
yeah, I think that will be something for people to watch out, especially on villagers. You need to move them. You need to manually walk them away from the locust. It's probably best to walk them into the locust so that the locust walks the other direction, right? And then you don't take damage anymore.
It swarms away from you.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we've got Thoth. We've got a couple of changes for Thoth here. So the Meteor God power, the crush damage has been reduced from 750 down to 580. That seems like quite the nerf. Why is that?
Yeah, Thoth as a whole just had a really, really strong package, and the previous nerfs to Meteor just weren't cutting it. So there's the next round, and the number specifically was mostly fine-tuned to have a linear amount of meteor strikes required to kill a town center. I think it was 4, now it's 5, and then 6 with Masons. It was even 3 for Norse as well, which we've changed due to the town center cost. We'll see in a later change.
Okay.
And Valley of the Kings also was performing really effectively. It was kind of like a must-grab tag that just makes your game super, like, you just get so much stuff out of it.
So Valley of the Kings, for those people who can't remember, is where you empower the Migdol or a barracks and you get 2 units for the price of 1, right? 2 units are trained at the time of 1 and you get 2 units pop out instead of 1, right?
Yeah, that's right.
See, I didn't even know this worked on barracks because you can only train it from the Migdol. I thought, oh, it's only for the camels, the chariots, and the elephants. I didn't even know it worked on barracks, but there you go. Now I've learned something new. So after the upgrade is researched, the training rate of Migdol Stronghold and Barracks while being empowered by a pharaoh has been reduced. So tell us about that.
So there's a bit of a kind of hidden nerf to this tech where empowering a building normally speeds up the training of units inside. But with the tech, instead we're kind of cutting into that train speed. So that empowering the building actually makes units train slower, but you get a free one every time you train one. So that's the way we're looking to balance this tech. So you still get free ones, but they train slower.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting way to change it, isn't it? Because I heard some people say, oh, what about instead of having, 2 for the price of 100% of the time, it's random if you get a second one or not, but the RNG element, the random element, is not that nice to play with, is it? When you don't know if you're getting a second elephant or not.
Yeah, especially with the big costing elephant. If you just get unlucky like 3 times in a row or something and you don't get one, that feels really bad. And then if you get three of them in a row, 3 extra ones, then the opponent might feel really bad. Like, what? He's just getting so much free stuff, right?
Yeah, this seems like a smart way to balance that. So we'll see if this helps with the really strong Thoth at the moment. Okay, moving on. So we're back to, as I was talking about before, the naval myth units. We've got the War Turtle, which is a Mythic Age naval unit. So it's had quite a big cost reduction, hit points, massive increase in hit points, and the massive increase in the damage as well. So is that what you're talking about before when you were talking about the Karkanos, the crab?
Yeah, War Turtle was also probably one of the more lacking ones of all 4 of them. So yeah, he's got some bit of a glow up in stats. Should be quite a bit stronger than the Leviathan in most aspects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully we see more of him. And then we have minions. So these are the minions that either spawn from the Mummy special attack or from the Ancestors God power. Their bonus damage versus heroes has been reduced from 0.5 multiplier to 0.25 multiplier, and their movement speed has been reduced. So why have you made these changes?
So there's quite a dominant strategy going on with Ancestors and Eclipse together. the ancestors end up having really fast speed, and they're able to even take out heroes at smaller numbers, like a couple heroes here. And this just didn't feel right, so reducing the bonus against heroes at least makes that a lot harder for them to do. And reducing the speed gives a bit more time for villagers to garrison and survive while such a strategy is at play, basically. That's the changes.
Okay. Okay, and then our human units, I see we've got some changes to the mercenary. These are trained from your town center. These are the ones that have the short lifespan. So for the mercenary unit, the little guy, his bonus damage versus cavalry has been increased. We've got a multiplier increase there. We've got some hack damage increase. His train time has been reduced, and his hit points have been increased. And for our mercenary cavalry, the one on the horse, his hack damage has been increased, his bonus multiplier against ranged soldiers has been increased, and his train time has been reduced. So why are we buffing the mercenaries? Because, yeah, mercenaries used to be huge on Legacy, right? Everyone made mercenaries, and now I never see mercenaries. Is that why?
That's partly the reason, yeah. Mercenaries, every time I've seen people like consider them, or like, they're useless. And I barely ever see anyone make them. I sometimes made them myself, but in many cases they were not that impactful, so I thought they could use a bit of a buff, especially also because Egypt could use some buffs, and this is one avenue to do so, and felt pretty safe to do, so let's see how they play out. They just felt a bit lacking.
Yeah, especially this train time is going to help a lot, because I found the train time was so slow when you were trying to get mercenary out to defend your base, and you 5 seconds for 2 units sort of things.
Yeah.
It was really slow to defend, so hopefully this helps a bit. Alright, we are on to Norse. So Town Centre, Village Centre, and Citadel Centre for Norse, okay, are no longer minus 10% wood cost and minus 10% hit points. So the stats of these buildings are the same as other cultures now.
Yep, that's it. This wasn't partially made because of the meteor, because the Norse TC just died in 3 hits before the changes. Removing this effect on the TCs also means that Norse can't grab the TC as quickly as easily because the wood change. So removing a little bit of asymmetry, but I think for the town center in particular, that's probably for the best.
Yeah, and I did actually see some players trying some Thor 2TC strategy recently, so this might even impact their brand new build order. They're going to have to rethink their builds now, their Thor 2TC.
I don't know if it's that big of an impact.
Yeah, 10%.
It's 35 wood, but yeah.
Alright, onto the major gods. Loki, the infantry building speed reduced from plus 25% to plus 10%. So that means they now no longer build 25% faster, but 10% faster, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Loki seemed to be very dominant as one of the 4 Norse gods that was doing really well, and also, especially in deathmatch, the build speed was insane, so this change was made. A little bit for deathmatch, but also because Loki could use a nerf.
Okay, Freyr, the Gullinbursti, which is the big golden pig, the Archaic Age god power, no longer inflicts friendly fire with its basic attack. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You're no longer damaging yourself when the big golden pig attacks, right?
Yeah, it's just a small oversight that was rectified, yeah.
Yes. We've got Hel, minor god Hel, the granite blood technology, no longer, it reduces the rock giant hit points from plus 40% to plus 20%.
Yeah, so this upgrade, this change was made because the rock giant is a heroic age myth unit that kind of benefited a lot more from the 40% than the frost giants, which get 40%. Mountain giants only get 20%, so it's kind of put in line with the mountain giant here. In terms of raw stats that it has, it probably should only get 20%.
That makes sense to put in line with the mountain giant. Plus, the rock giant, if you have that other upgrade and it's eating buildings, doesn't it heal itself?
Yes.
So it was really, really hard to kill with these upgrades when it's eating a building. Like, it was just out healing any damage, right? So this should help that as well.
I mean, it just makes the rock giant a bit weaker.
Yeah.
In these cases in late game if you go through hell.
Yeah. Alright, and then we've got the Jorman Elva, which is a third of our Mythic Age naval units we're mentioning today. The bonus burst myth units is reduced from 3 times multiplier to 2 times multiplier.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the Yeoman Elf already had its stats quite a bit increased with the launch of Retold compared to the other 3 myth units. And we felt like that actually Yeoman Elf was kind of destroying other naval myth units very fast. So that's why this change was made.
Okay, because the Kraken itself still has the 3 times multiplier, doesn't it? But the Cracker has what, lower base stats, so it's not wrecking other myth units as hard, or what?
I think so. I'm not sure exactly on the stats, but it has a very low attack speed, so
Yeah, okay.
probably DPS is quite low for the Kraken.
Yeah. On to the Atlantian pantheon, minor gods, Hyperion, the Chaos God power. I know this is very, what's the word? Contentious? Yeah, contentious god power. So this one's been adjusted. The minimum duration has been reduced from 3 to 2 seconds, and the maximum duration has also been reduced from 60 to 50 seconds. And the repeat cost has increased from +10 per cast to +20 per cast. So that's how much extra favor it costs every time you cast it. So talk about the chaos here.
Well, yeah, we nerfed Chaos before, but mostly I think just cost. So it seems that Chaos is still performing extremely strongly and well. So it's time for a slight nerf here for Heroic God Power to put it back in line with other Heroic Age God Powers, hopefully.
And when we talk about the duration, like the maximum duration is reduced from 60 to 50 seconds, that duration is if you've got one unit that you've chaosed, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then the minimum duration, how many units need to be there for the minimum duration to hit?
I think that would be the way it works is the maximum duration is the amount of seconds in total it wants to spread units on, but once you hit the minimum, it will just affect every unit. So I think it's 25.
So if there's 25 units there, Chaos will only run for 2 seconds, is that correct?
Yeah.
Instead of 3.
25 or more.
25,
so,
25 or more. So hopefully that'll make people with the bigger armies full of Terma, 25 or more Terma, a bit happier that they're only getting 2 seconds of Chaos rather than the 3.
Yeah.
Okay, Hecate, the Tartarian Gate. God power. So that's the one where you place and it spawns the little spawns out of it, and you have to kill the Tartarian Gate, otherwise the spawns will just spawn forever. That one, the hack armor has increased on the actual gate itself. The pierce armor has increased as well. The spawns that come out of the gate chase enemies further, and the number of spawns has increased from 6 to 7. So that sounds like a buff.
Yeah, I think it's quite a significant buff. Obviously, the Tartarian Gate has not seen that much use, so we want to buff it a bit. It's clearly just not performing quite as well as other Mythic Age God powers. And yeah, well, I hope that it gets there now.
Yeah, that'll be good to see some variety in the Mythic Age. And then another Mythic Age god power here, the Implode. I've seen some absolutely awful Implodes being casted where they don't seem to suck up any units and get almost no value. So I'm guessing that might be in response to that. So the escape radius has increased from 35 to 40. It sucks up units even faster, and reveals line of sight to all players.
Yeah, I mean, the line of sight was just a little bit of flavor that most god powers have that it was missing, so I just added that. Escape radius and sucking units in faster just should help make the god power more consistent, hopefully. If you cast it badly, people can still escape, but if you click it on top of an enemy army, it should be quite difficult to actually escape the Implode god power now.
And I did see a change, I think, further up the list, Herdables or something like that are no longer affected by the Implode as well. I think I read that.
Could be the case, yeah.
Yeah, which would obviously, like, if it's sucking up your Herdables and not sucking up your enemy units, then yeah, that's...
Yeah, it was taking the place of human units that it could be dealing damage to instead.
Yeah. Okay, Poseidon's secret technology. I've heard so much about this one in the last couple of weeks. I've heard people losing games blaming their losses entirely on this technology. So it was a bug where it incorrectly gave a 30% discount rather than the intended 15% to the Contarius. Is that right?
To all cavalry, so also Termas.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bug fix. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, there's not much to say. I didn't want it to be 30%, so...
Yeah, it was unintentional, guys, so hopefully it's fixed now. And Rhea's gift technology. So what does that technology what is it meant to do?
It removes the favor cost on technologies, and for any previously researched technologies, the favor cost of them will also be refunded to you. But it seems to have also removed the favor cost of heroizing heroes,
Which is huge.
which it was pretty big and wasn't intended. So
No, it's a bug fix as well.
it wasn't explained anywhere, so something needed to give. Either we incorporate it entirely into the tech in some way, or just get rid of it.
Yeah, it seems massive. If it gave a refund for that, that would have been huge. Okay, then we've got the Man of War, which is again another naval myth unit. He's the one that shoots lightning. He looks like a blob on the water. His divine damage has increased from 25 to 40. Massive.
Yeah, it sounds bad, massive, but it has a rate of fire of 3, so it attacks quite slowly, and its effective DPS is not even that much bigger. It's I think it's a massive buff, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that's enough to bring the Man of War up to the same tier as the other 3 Mythic Age naval units.
Yeah. And then we've got the Caladria, which is the flying healer. So its hit points have been reduced, pierce armor has been increased, and hack armor reduced.
Yeah, this is basically a nerf for Caladria against Norse, and to a certain extent also Egypt, because they deal divine damage. But against Pierce units, like, nothing really changed all that much, because the effective Pierce HP is the same. But hack damage, throwing axemen in Classical Age, and divine damage, they can kill the Caladrias faster.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. They are quite tanky, actually. And then the train time for our automaton, which is the little metal soldier, has been reduced from 12 to 10 seconds. I don't see many people going Leto. Is this to try and encourage people to go Leto?
Yeah, it is. And this is maybe a little bit of personal bias, but I think Leto is on the cusp of being really strong.
Okay, you heard it here, guys.
So please do try it. But yeah, we'll see how it pans out. It might not change all too much, but it does allow you to get the flood going earlier. Because usually the problem is getting the units out quickly early game. Now that should be easier to do.
Yeah, especially because the automaton heal each other, so you always want a few on the field, right?
Yeah.
Like to heal each other up. To repair, sorry. And then for our human units, we've got the Chiroballistas are no longer affected by draft horse and engineers. What does draft horse and engineers do for these people?
Draft horses give siege units 20% movement speed, and engineers give siege units 25% damage, as well as, I think, some HP and something else, some bonus against walls or something.
Okay, and for people at home who are watching, Chiroballistas are classed as siege, right?
Yes, they are.
And what's the other unit type?
Range? Archers.
Yeah,
range soldier, yeah.
So they are a siege and a ranged unit, but they are no longer affected by these, I guess, siege technologies, draft horses, and engineers, but they are affected by the ranged soldier upgrades.
That's right.
So with the Chiroballista performing a bit too well, or against buildings, or?
So the problem with this unit was that it kind of scaled a lot better than other human units because it got affected by both line upgrades and additional effectively line upgrades through the siege upgrades. And it gave the unit 4.6 speed as well as an extra 25% damage over the line upgrades. So it didn't make sense. Like, it's not like your cavalry unit Termas also get cavalry and archer upgrades at the same time, right? You only benefit from one of those lines. So that's why the change was made.
Okay, nice. Well, thank you for your time today. Thanks for explaining these changes. I hope people enjoy this balance patch.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.